Now we'll call to order the agenda for the regular board meeting, Tuesday, December 13th, 2022. It's 10 o'clock a.m. in the Board of Supervisors hearing room, Melody Lane, Bisbee. Any item on this agenda is open for discussion and possible action. And if you would stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. You may be seated. The order or deletion of any item on this agenda is subject to modification at the meeting, and the board may vote to recess into an executive session for the purpose of obtaining legal advice from the board's attorney on any matter listed on the agenda pursuant to ARS 38-431.03A3. We begin again with the roll call. District 1.
Crosby is still here.
District 2, Supervisor English is present. District 3.
Supervisor Judd is here.
Again, we have a complete board. Members of the public may attend this meeting by Microsoft Teams computer or mobile app, or by phone by calling 602-609-7513 or 888-680-6714. Conference ID 988-391-567#. If you have trouble accessing this meeting remotely, call 520-432-9200 for direction. The board may permit public comment during the discussion of any item on this agenda. To speak on an agenda item or during the call to the public, please complete and return the speaker request form to the clerk of the board prior to the start of the meeting. Note that some attachments may be updated after the agenda is published, and this means that some presentation materials displayed at the board meeting may differ slightly from the attached version. We begin with the call to the public, and Allison Morris by Teams. Are you there?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes, you have
Okay.
2 minutes.
Thank you. Good morning. I am Allison Morse from Portal, and I'm wondering what more we might expect in the upcoming weeks from our 2 deviant Republican supervisors and when they will be held accountable for their actions. While refusing to certify our election results and nearly disenfranchising all Cochise County voters, Supervisors Judd and Crosby blatantly broke Arizona laws. It took 2 lawsuits and a court order for Ms. Judd to finally do what her job requires of her. Her response was to file a petition for a harassment injunction against Secretary of State Governor-elect Katie Hobbs. Wait a minute. She felt harassed because someone asked her to do her job? Mr. Crosby, on the other hand, avoided the issue completely. He chose to ignore the judge's order altogether by not attending the meeting for certification. It's astonishing that neither Judd nor Crosby have expressed any recognition of wrongdoing. But then I suppose this should come as no surprise, because these are the same 2 supervisors who, while clearly violating the open meeting law, decided to file a lawsuit in their official capacity as county supervisors against our elections director, Lisa Mara, personally, as well as in her official capacity. Supervisor English was not present, nor did she have any idea what these 2 wayward supervisors were up to. And what was the lawsuit about? Well, it was an attempt to coerce Ms. Mara to illegally hand count all ballots or relinquish those ballots, also illegally, to Recorder David Stevens. How much more of this nonsense do the citizens of Cochise County have to put up with? We are tired of these 2 supervisors peddling propaganda while acting like bullies and entitled, spoiled children. Don't they have better things to do with their time than file frivolous lawsuits and petitions that are swiftly dismissed by the courts? I'm so grateful that Supervisor English upholds the law and conducts meetings that are professional, fair, and inclusive. Let's hold these other 2 supervisors fully accountable for their actions and the total cost of all legal fees. Thank you for your time.
Next is Jeff Sturgis, and I believe he's on Teams. Are you on, Jeff?
Yes, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can. You have 3 minutes.
I'm Jeff Sturgis from Sierra Vista. Cochise County Supervisors Tom Crosby and Peggy Judd have repeatedly shown contempt for the rule of law, Cochise County voters, our county's chief law enforcement officer, and our county's government's reputation. By attempting to impose their own conspiracy-laden political ideology over the advice of our own county attorney, they have made our county government an international joke. They have used their official authority to attempt to illegally interfere with our county's election results by, in part, enlisting debunked conspiracy theorists from Maricopa County. Had a court not intervened, Judd and Crosby's blatant act of defying Arizona's election laws would have disenfranchised the votes of over more than 47,000 Cochise County residents, most of whom are Republicans. Supervisor Crosby defied a court order of an Arizona Supreme Court judge to vote to certify our county's election results. While Supervisors English and Judd showed up to vote, as the judge ordered, Supervisor Crosby hid from the vote. He could have at least stood by his convictions and been the one dissenting vote. As one letter writer to the Herald Review put it, when push came to shove, Supervisor Crosby proved himself to be the cowardly lion. Arizona officials, including a former state attorney general, have called for Supervisor Judd and Crosby's possible prosecution. Our county taxpayers may be on the hook to pay legal fees accrued from their illegal actions. Judd and Crosby have ignored common sense, the rule of law, and the right of the people to have their voices heard. How many more of Judd and Crosby's seeming crimes, injustices, and embarrassments to Cochise County must we endure? I, once again, respectfully ask Supervisors Judd and Crosby to immediately resign. Thank you.
Next, we have Jill Hamilton, and I believe she's on Teams also. Jill, are
I
you
am. Yeah, I'm here.
You have 3
good
minutes.
morning. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay. Good morning, board. I have a request, I think in the interest of clarity related to the lawsuits brought, the lawsuits against and payment sources and all of that. I'm finding it very hard to kind of keep track of what's been dismissed, what hasn't. Now, thank heavens for the free press, and we can follow it a few days later. But I guess I'm kind of like this morning after the executive meeting. It said that y'all had voted to have the lawyer dismiss the lawsuits, and it'd be nice somewhere on the Board of Supervisors, just like you put in meeting minutes, just to maybe keep the citizens apprised of what lawsuits are still going, what have been dismissed, and which ones is the lawyer working on. Again, it just is kind of hard to keep track because of the amount of them. So I'm just asking for a little clearer communication and it be in a central place like your website. And that's my request today. Thank you.
Thank you. That's all the requests that I have for call to the public. So I'm going to move on to the consent.
I think I get to respond.
And
you don't
respond to what?
Absolutely. Let's see. Mr. Sturgis, you're making the assumption that not certifying would have disenfranchised county elections when you don't know that. And Ms. Jill Hamilton, I would suggest that you just use the facilities that are available on our county website, and that's going to be as up to date as you can have. And the first person said something about trying to compel Mara to illegally hand count, and that wasn't determined because that case wasn't moved forward. And the section of law is 16602B, and that section was not disapproved by the Secretary of State when we first discussed it. Thank you.
Mr. Crosby, could I just ask then, I have not been able to find a,
No,
Okay.
you can't. In fact, in the only response in the call to the public, Mr. Crosby, should be if someone has maligned you, and then you have the right to answer them. So in the future, let's not have a conversation with people on call to the public request. Consent agenda is items 1 through 4. Could I have a motion, please?
Madam
Madam
Chair,
Chair.
I move, Madam Chair, I move that we approve consent agenda items 1 through 4.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
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 Chair votes aye, and it's unanimous and so ordered. We move on to item number 5. With the Board of Supervisors, I need a motion on the floor for the intergovernmental agreement.
Madam Chair, I move we approve the second amended intergovernmental agreement between Cochise County and the City of Sierra Vista for regional 911 communications and establishment of the Southeastern Arizona Communications Center, CCOM, effective December 13th, 2022.
I'll second that.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Mr. Karwachka, tell us about the amendment.
Thank you, Madam Chair, Supervisor Judd, Supervisor Crosby. If you see the attachment, there was an amendment as to Section 2B, that's the subscriber, and there was included subsection C in that, which describes a tier process of Tier 1 and 2. And Tier 1 is the people that are actually paying for the services, and Tier 2 is regarding those people that are receiving the services because they're statutorily obligated to receive the services. The reason why we're making these changes, because if you turn to, I think it's Section 6, which is the CCOM Operations Committee, that often doesn't have a quorum because it includes all the members. So when we're creating this tier process, typically the Tier 1 subscribers that are actually paying for the service are the ones present. The others are not present for the Operations Committee, so the Operations Committee cannot function as it's supposed to. So because of these changes, we're hoping to have a quorum now and then move forward and have the Operations Committee work. So those are the changes in the amendments. And also for the board's information, on December 8th, this was on the City of Sierra Vista's council agenda and they approved their portion.
Any questions or comments from board members?
No,
None at
thank
this
you.
time.
Okay. I have one request, and that would be, it was a long intergovernmental agreement, and it would be nice if you would highlight what you are changing. So, I mean, you keep looking and saying, okay, if I had the other one, I could compare the wording here, but, you know, I'm not sure which words have changed. So that would be helpful in the future if you would do that, please.
Yes, Madam Chair, I will highlight it and put it in a different color as well.
Okay, thank you. Okay, we have a motion and a second. If there are no further comments, and I'll call for the vote. All those in favor say aye.
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 Chair votes aye, and it's unanimous and so ordered. We move on to number 6. I need a motion about a grant agreement that Christy has gotten for us.
Madam Chair, I move that we, oops, sorry, have to open the screen.
Number 6.
And now I'm off. I can't make this motion because the screen's gone. So,
Go ahead, Tom.
but I'll get it back for the next one.
Madam Chair, I move we approve grant agreement RCAPD-23-002 between the Arizona Criminal Justice Commission, ACJC, and the Cochise County Attorney's Office, CAO, in the amount of $503,349.76, effective December 1st, 2022 through December 1st, 2025 for Rural County Alternative Prosecution and Diversion Program.
Okay.
I'll
tell us
second
about-
it.
We have a motion and a second. Tell us about this, baby, Christy.
Good morning, Madam Chair, board members. What we're going to do with these funds is we are going to add 2 additional positions to the diversion program that already exists to enhance it. It'll be a diversion coordinator and a secretary. We also plan to acquire a vehicle, funds for translations for some of the citizens in our county who English is not their primary language. We're asking for an AED machine and also just a regular budget for it. What we plan to do is just enhance this program and give people an opportunity when they've torn the fabric of society to mend that fabric.
Any questions or comments on the diversion program? Did you have a display you wanted to show us?
No.
Okay.
This appears to be primarily 2 attorneys for 3 years additional.
Actually, sir, they won't be attorneys. They'll be a diversion coordinator, so somebody who probably has a background in substance abuse, and a secretary to manage both the GRACE program that exists already and the diversion program.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah. I thought I read two attorneys somewhere in there, I guess.
No, sir, I don't believe so.
We're keeping them away from the attorneys with this program. Any other questions or comments about this?
No, I don't. Thank you. This is a good program, though, and we need it.
Well,
So,
It's an enhancement, and probably the reason that you got this grant was you proved by the first one that, you know, that you've stumbled on something that's working.
Yes, ma'am. We've seen really great success with GRACE, and while they're a little bit different, I believe that we can make the county even better than with this program.
Right. Okay, all those in favor say aye.
aye.
Chair votes aye, and it's unanimous and so ordered. Thank you. Item number 7. Need a motion for a grant between us and the Arizona Department of Administration.
Madam Chair, I move that we approve Agreement DBFFY 23 L22 CH 31302 between the Arizona Department of Administration and Cochise County, effective October 1st, 2022 through June 30th, 2025, for one-time payments to line-level deputies and detention officers.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. So, Sheriff, tell us about this program.
Good morning, Madam Chair, board members, staff, and guests that are joining us today. This is exciting. This is a recruitment retention bill for sheriff's deputies, first line supervisors, and line staff for all deputies in the state and detention officers. This is historic. I don't remember this ever happening before, but I want to give a big shout out to Governor Ducey, our state lawmakers, the congressional teams we work with up there, Arizona Sheriff Association, and the County Supervisor Association for working together on this. Why am I standing in front of you today? Well, let me give you a little history. As you know, recruitment retention is a huge challenge in law enforcement, not just in Cochise County, but nationwide. When we looked at this, working with CSA, with ASA, there was not one sheriff's office in the state that was above state average when it comes to compensation, both for the deputies or detention officers. As a result of working with CSA, ASA in our state, along with the governor's team, we have brought this to reality where we're changing that as we speak. The ultimate goal for every sheriff that sat on this one and on the CSA folks that sat on this one was to retain the talented men and women that work in our communities at sheriff's offices throughout the state and here in Cochise County. As a result, the state awarded $53.4 a little over $1 million to address this recruitment retention bill. This was actually a parity bill. We first went into it. So as a result for Cochise County, the allocation for us was $1,390,000 to address over the next 10 years, $10,000 to every deputy currently working that was working before May 1st, and every detention officer here in Cochise County. And that'll be distributed quarterly over the next 24 months. And also gave us $5,000 to as a sign-on bonus, which is very popular in law enforcement, especially up in the valley. I saw one the other day for $35,000 in New Mexico the other day. I was like, wow. So, but here it's a $5,000 sign-on bonus for deputies and detention officers we hire over the next 12 months. I believe that's up till May of 2023. I know there's more discussion as the session starts again to address the extension on that for time because we're cutting ourselves short getting this out so late. But again, this is a no cost to the county, to the general fund, or to our pension plan. So we want to make sure this, every time we go in front of the state or anywhere else to get funds that we think can help a program here in Cochise County or the men and women or the community, hopefully it's a collective thought on that there's cost is minimum or none. So at this time, I would ask for your support and ask for any questions.
I do have one question. How does this, you said it doesn't affect the pension plan. So there's no money paid into the pension plan out of this money?
No, these are one time, or when I say one time, no, the description says one time, but over the next 24 months, yeah. The allocations to our deputies and detention officer is not pension, it's not within the pension. No, we want to make this very clear. I'm sorry, Madam Chair. We want to make this very clean for counties that are already fighting pension challenges, that did not touch that. One county challenged that. That was not part of actually pushing this through, but the governor's office, CSA and ASA all said, no, we're going forward with it. If they want to do it, they can do it differently. So,
okay, does it affect long-term salaries?
No, this is a one-time allocation. So this is not yeah, it's not going towards sustainment on their salaries. No.
Well, I wanted to ask those questions so the public had that information. Yes. I could glean that, but they don't usually read the background.
Yes.
Any questions from board members?
This item is in line with my platform of signing and retention bonuses. And if I could hopefully predict the future, this will be more than a one-time thing. In addition to that, I would point out that it is the tier 1 pension system that is in trouble, or typically, so new hires wouldn't fall into that.
Any comments, Ms. Judd?
No, thank you.
Well, I think it's important that the sheriffs added the detention officers.
Yes.
Because that seems to be almost as big a problem, if not a bigger problem, than deputies, in order to retain them and keep them. And so I'm glad that they're part of this also.
Yes.
Okay, and any further comments? Hearing none, then I'll call for the vote. All those in favor say aye.
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 Chair votes aye, and it's unanimous and so ordered.
Thank you.
Okay, the next one is to approve a grant agreement. Do I have a motion?
Madam Chair, I move we approve grant agreement M22-0051 between the Arizona Department of Emergency and Military Affairs, DEMA, Cochise County, and the Cochise County Sheriff's Office, CCSO, in the amount of $1,947,500, effective October 1st, 2022 through December 31st, 2024, for equipment and or activities associated with prosecution and imprisonment of individuals charged with drug trafficking, human smuggling, illegal immigration, and other border-related crimes.
I'll second that.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Mr. Watkins.
Good morning, Madam Chair, Supervisor Crosby, Supervisor Judd. Thank you for having me here today. It's with great enthusiasm I come to you today to tell you about this awesome opportunity. We leveraged personal relationships at the state to bring in funding for 15 three-quarter ton, four-door, four-wheel drive trucks with zero impact to the Cochise County tax base. In addition to that, the fuel, maintenance, all associated costs for these vehicles are also covered at a tune of $195,000. The total cost of the agreement is $1,947,500. In a second issue with this is that it allows us to combat the supply chain crisis. Right now, we are projected to get replacement vehicles for our fleet somewhere in the realm of 2024. The grant is written to where we can work in conjunction with procurement to go out to a lot and buy what is immediately available now. Some of the vehicles in our fleet are well surpassed what is acceptable in the realm of mileage, so it provides us a solution today.
Aren't you adding some things to these, and that adds cost to the vehicles that you buy off the lot?
Well, yes, ma'am. There's included in the grant is training for specialized custom bumpers, should we have to use them. They're called pursuit immobilization technique vehicle bumpers. If we were to have to execute a pit maneuver to bring a deadly pursuit to a conclusion, we would then have the option to do that. That's another tool in our toolbox, again, with no cost to the county.
I noticed you mentioned that it is for mileage, gas mileage, et cetera, for 1 year?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So what would that be for the second year?
So these are not in addition to, we're not adding 15 vehicles to the fleet. We're bringing in 15 vehicles to offset our current fleet vehicles. So we were,
Go ahead.
sorry. We were able to bring in funding for those 15 vehicles for the first year, but we're not adding, so let's say the Cochise County Sheriff's Office has 80 vehicles in its fleet. We're not making that 95. This is meant to replace those existing vehicles.
Thank you. I can't think of anything else the public might want to know, but Ms. Judd, Mr. Crosby, do you have questions,
Certainly.
comments?
Mr. Watkins, how do grapplers prevent high-speed pursuits and erratic driving?
Sir, that's a great question. Thank you for bringing it up. It actually has no relation to the grant at hand. The grapplers were not mentioned in this specific grant. But to your question, sir, grapplers provide an immense tool and resource to bring a deadly pursuit to a conclusion. And we have requested 20 of those grappler systems in a separate grant that we hope that is approved from the state.
Okay, thank you. I just so happens I have this this excerpt from the agreement M220051. I think that's what we're talking about. That's what's at the top of there, but that's fine. My platform is to prevent illegal entry across our border with Mexico, thus drastically reducing the taxpayer cost to educate, medicate, and incarcerate illegal aliens and smugglers. I am not in favor of wimpy pursuit policies because such policies are counterproductive.
Ms. Judd, do you have any comments about the vehicles?
I don't have any comments. I do like that there is the effort that you're making to get resources to help us update the vehicles that you're using every day and in a timely manner, because I do understand our county is so large and I'm sure your mileage is just over the top right now. So thank you for going to that effort.
Thank you, Supervisor.
The only comment I have to make is it looks like so far that the Watkins family needs to have an award for grants this morning. So hearing no further comments, I'm going to call for the vote. All those in favor say aye.
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 Chair votes aye, and it's unanimous and so ordered. Now I need a motion for another grant.
Madam Chair, I move that we approve grant agreement M22-0062 between the Arizona Department of Emergency and Military Affairs, DEMA, Cochise County, and the Cochise County Sheriff's Office in the amount of $9,069,000, effective October 1st, 2022 through December 31st, 2027, to purchase equipment and lease a helicopter from Western Sky Helicopters for a period of 5 years.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Now, Mr. Watkins, what have you done?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Along the same conversation as the last, we were able to go out and leverage personal relationships to bring a law enforcement aviation program to Cochise County. In addition to our daily pursuits that are incredibly dangerous to the citizens of Cochise County, we've had 5 incidents in the last month where we very much needed a helicopter immediately. And we have great relationships with Border Patrol and DPS Ranger out of Tucson, but they usually have an extended ETA. An example of when we really needed a helicopter was during the active shooter incident in Whetstone. If we had had a helicopter, a law enforcement helicopter, not a tour helicopter or anything like that, but an actual dedicated law enforcement helicopter, with the respective equipment, we probably could have resolved that incident much sooner and much safer to the citizens of Cochise County. So what this grant is it's a lease agreement with Western Sky Solutions to bring in a helicopter fully outfitted with everything we would need, all associated liability insurance, training, maintenance, fuel, everything is included in this lease agreement at a tune of $1.6 million for 5 years. In addition to that, the grant also allows $1,069,000 in specialized equipment that Cochise County will own at the conclusion of that 5-year agreement. So like our helicopter programs of the past, we weren't allowed to do nighttime operations or things like that. That the conversation is over. We now have a solution for it. We have all associated equipment that we would need for a helicopter program in Cochise County. Again, it's zero fiscal impact to your constituents.
Well, I've probably been the most outspoken about helicopters and law enforcement. I think they're dangerous, and we can prove that. We've had 2 accidents with helicopters, one fatal, the other unfortunately not. And so I'm against us owning and having that liability, not only for the tax dollars, but for the law enforcement people that climb onto those helicopters. And so the sheriff and I have talked about this over a period of time, and I believe that we're in agreement that this is a lease from a company that will be called upon to serve the county when necessary. And it will not be used for public relations or to take people on tours of showing them the border wall. It is strictly for law enforcement.
100%, Madam Chair. And the leadership team at the Sheriff's Office shares your concern about the inherent liability for the county and the danger for it. That's the reason we went out. We sought out a solution-oriented company with an impeccable record of maintenance and all associated things that would make such aviation programs reliable and safe. The company that we are leasing through has a great record, and they've brought solutions for us in the past through other avenues. The 2 horrific incidents you referenced, we no longer associate ourselves with that program. To your second point, ma'am, we need some kind of aviation platform. We don't envision using this helicopter program for anything other than law enforcement relations. And the battlefield that we operate in every day, unfortunately, I have to call it that, but my goodness, my guys are going to some crazy stuff. We need a solution now, so we're partnering with local EMS and fire departments to try and put a medic in this helicopter so that whether it be a search and rescue operation or another high-risk critical incident, we can have trained personnel there immediately.
Well, I also want the public to understand that this doesn't take the place of medical helicopters that are flying, out of different locations in the county for medical reasons, and we're not sending it up for medical.
100%, ma'am.
Okay. And we're not rescuing people off the side of mountains in baskets, right? We're not qualified to do that.
No, Madam Chair, I want to be clear. If we can get our helicopter out there to insert people in a safe and effective manner, we will do that while we're waiting on our other search and rescue assets to be embedded. But this aircraft is to be outfitted with law enforcement specialized equipment. When you start putting search and rescue equipment, baskets, winches, all this other stuff, it detracts from the mission of that aircraft. So no, ma'am, we're not going to be doing anything like that.
Well, again, many of the questions that I ask, are for me, and some are for the public. So if they understand why we're getting this, what it will be used for.
100%, ma'am. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Crosby, you have questions?
Certainly, Mr. Watkins. It was a pleasure to talk to you this morning. The U.S. Border Patrol is a stepchild of the Immigration Service, made due with 1967 OH-6 helicopters until I retired in 2009, which was a blessing in disguise. These helicopters were Army surplus and were cheap or free. So as I asked you this morning rhetorically, what will the county have at the end of this 5-year, $9 million grant to lease a helicopter? The $9 million will be gone and the helicopter will be gone. So I just took a cursory look at the internet and found this Government Services Administration auction, ex-Army Bell TH-67 helicopter up for auction. It's already gone, so if you think you're going to get it, you can't. $380,000. At that rate, 23 TH-67 helicopters could be bought for $9 million, or 11 helicopters and $4.5 million to operate, or $1.6 million helicopter per year and $1 million to operate for 5 years, which at the end of which period you'd have 5 helicopters, which I think is a better way to go. But I understand the points that you made. That would have put the sheriff into helicopters for decades at a rock bottom price, and I believe to do otherwise is basically buying helicopters for Western Helicopter instead of the county. But nonetheless, I heard from Mr. Watkins this morning, and I heard what his concerns were about the whole situation. So basically, we're talking about in the agreement, DEMA will provide funds to the county with which to construct and maintain a border fence. That's what's in the agreement. And later in the agreement, this point is reinforced: distribute to Cochise County funds to construct and maintain a physical border fence. Yet notably, pages 11 through 12, which contain the itemized list of equipment to be purchased, nowhere include a physical border fence. Instead, they include border-related equipment such as cameras, lasers, totaling a little over $1 million, and the agreement with Western Sky Helicopter. 2, provide the ability to safely monitor fleeing vehicles and strategically stage resources ahead of fleeing vehicles to bring deadly pursuits to a conclusion. And once again, I would reiterate that if you prevent illegal entry across the border, all of a sudden you have many fewer of these pursuits. I think most people can understand that. Since not even the stated purpose of the helicopter would be to prevent illegal entry, but rather to follow illegal aliens who have already entered, the high cost of a helicopter is questionable. And that's, I believe, what Madam English was talking about. Currently, not only do none of the agreement monies go to a border fence, but construction is not allowed. Justification, page 13. That itself is perplexing. How can nearly $9 million be allocated for border fence construction if construction is not allowed? So basically, this is a messed up contract. I just thought I'd bring that to people's attention. Go ahead, Mr. Watkins.
Yes, sir. I can appreciate your viewpoint, Supervisor. First things first, you threw a lot at me there. Yeah. So I appreciate your wisdom in this regard of aviation, law enforcement. Sir, I stay in my lane. My lane is law enforcement. Your points are valid about owning helicopter equipment and everything else. I would be extremely arrogant if I were to set up here to you today and say that I've spent 21 years in law enforcement. Now I have any semblance of an idea of what an aviation platform looks like, or program maintenance, any of that other stuff. Sir, the Sheriff's Office, we're solution oriented. We saw a problem. We went out and brought in a solution with zero fiscal impact to the community. Your points are valid, but I don't want to make a mistake of missing something in maintenance or having a poor plan. To your second point about us not owning any equipment, sir, at the conclusion of the 5-year grant, we have $1,069,000 worth of top-notch, best in its class equipment that the Cochise County will in fact own. The third part about the prevention of the immigrants of getting into the community, sir, I share your concern in that, but I have to operate within what I can do. I have no influence over that. My influence is, or my ability to influence things is to keep the citizens of Cochise County and your constituents safe once we have these events. The third thing, or the fourth thing, sir, is that in relation to the statute, The statute was allocated $335 million for the creation of a border barrier fence to include surveillance equipment, drones, and aviation equipment. So our legal team, in addition to the legal team at DEMA, signed off on that and said that this was a proper allocation of those funds, sir.
Okay. And you and I talked about that previously, and you got to repeat that, and I appreciate that very much.
Thank you, Supervisor.
Ms. Judd, do you have any comments, questions?
I don't. I was concerned as well about in the past when our helicopters were being used for random things, which makes me lean towards having a company that's providing a law enforcement helicopter service to support our department rather than us owning our own helicopters. Because when we're owning our own and have our own pilots, then we tend to more want to use them for other things. And so this makes a lot of sense to me, and I really appreciate this grant as written.
Okay, I'm going to call for the vote if I hear no other comments, questions. Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
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 Chair votes aye, and it's unanimous and so ordered. Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair, Supervisors Crosby and Judd. Have a wonderful Christmas if I don't see you before.
And you have apparently two nice young men that have been sitting very still in the lobby, so you need to take them out for ice cream or something. Item number 10. Need a motion for getting rid of some property taxes here that
Madam Chair, I move we approve the recommendation of the county treasurer for the abatement of property taxes and interest on personal property and the removal of personal property tax liens on treasurer's certificate of clearance number 2022-290 to 2022-352.
I'll second it.
we have a motion and a second. And Ms. Trawick, we often don't have the sheriff and you here at the same time, so you might give him what you usually tell us about how important it is that the sheriff's department helps you out with this.
I am always constantly amazed, Ms. English, at how well you read my mind. I did ask the sheriff to stick around because, first of all, I would like to say how impressed I am with the grants. Holy moly, as your banker, thank you so much for getting all that money coming into the county without matching funds or anything else, just great programs for Cochise County. Also, through the efforts of the sheriff's office, we've been able to put another 63 back taxes, back properties that are derelict and uncollectible through the process and get them cleared up. Officers Romero and Estrada especially have just been outstanding with my office to get these things done, and I could not be more thankful. It has been an amazing effort. This is the 5th packet of over 60 at a time that we've brought to you, and it is just wonderful to get these cleared up and off of the books.
So thank you, Mark. Now go ahead. Anything else you want to say?
No, ma'am. We have, once again, 63 of them, and for a total of $57,063.43. That 43 cents is important. And once again, it's all the sheriff's office efforts.
Well, I was going to ask you for that total because you did total that up for us. Any questions or comments from the board members?
No questions.
Ms.
No,
Judd?
thank you. No, thank you.
Okay, then we have a motion and a second. I'm going to call for the vote. All those in favor say aye.
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 Chair votes aye, and it's unanimous and so ordered. Thank you.
Thank you, board. And also, Ms. English, I am terribly sorry that is the sheriff's office fault that you have to sign 63 of them again. I'm so sorry. But have a Merry Christmas.
Everybody
Thank
has a
you
cross to bear.
much. Absolutely. Thank you again.
Court administration is next. I need a motion to let the courts distribute some money.
Madam Chair, I move that we certify that the total court revenues collected in fiscal year 2021 through 22 exceeded total court revenues collected in fiscal year 1997 through 98, and authorize distribution of the 5% set-aside revenues pursuant to ARS 41-2421.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Teresa, are you online by Teams?
I am. Good morning. Thank you. I apologize for not being there in person, but we had some staffing issues, so I needed to stay here.
You know, you might just take a quick second to explain why there is this this revenue that is separate at this particular time, just so people understand.
I will. What this represents is all of the money that was collected by the courts in fiscal year 22, which was $6,346,516.20. That is all of the court's revenue for last year. What we need to do is earn more than the threshold of fiscal year 98, which was $2,100,024. That is what we're asking today, is that you do certify that our revenue is above that. Then what happens is we take 5% of that $6 million and we are able to use it. So that amount is $325.81. And we take that and we distribute it between a few of the judicial departments, 57.37 going to the courts, 21.61% goes to the county attorney's office, 20.53% goes to indigent defense, and we do send 0.5% to the state.
Thank you very much. Any
You're
board members
welcome.
have any questions about this?
No questions. Thank you for your presentation.
Ms. Judd?
None, thank you.
Okay, hearing none, then I'm going to call for the vote. All those in favor say aye.
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 Chair votes aye, and it's unanimous and so ordered. Thank you, Teresa. Emergency Services is next. Need a motion on a cooperative agreement.
Madam Chair, I move we approve cooperative agreement between the Arizona Department of Forestry and Fire Management and Cochise County for a term of 5 years.
I'll second it.
Okay, I have a motion and a second. Mr. Duchon.
Good morning, Madam Chairwoman, members of the board. Thank you for allowing me to present and be in attendance remotely. Thank you. I'm here to ask for approval of a cooperative agreement with the Arizona Department of Forestry and Fire Management. It's akin to a mutual aid agreement. While we won't be exchanging any goods or services or funds with this agreement, it outlines the mutual interests we have and how we would cooperate together in the event of wildfires, which the Department of Forestry and Fire Management, call them DFFM, has been a strong partner, even recently with the 200-acre wildfire in Taylor in Wilcox last month, and even more recently the 20-acre fire in Carr Canyon last month. DFFM fits in the mold where they would respond to fires which are on private property but outside of a fire district. So they're one of the other partners we have along with our federal land management agencies. So they do have a large jurisdiction in Cochise County. The agreement outlines operating procedures such as how or who we would accept direction and supervisory assignments, mechanisms for financial reimbursement if the county does provide employees or equipment to them. It also outlines standardized training and stipulation for that equipment sharing, and it could allow us to engage in joint projects of mutual interest if there were any in the future. But it's a very good step forward to say, well, how we're going to work together and cooperate. If you have any questions, I can answer them now.
So Daniel, I'm sure some of these things came up when we've had fires in the past, like who's in charge, and so it's always good to have an agreement in place so you know where your lanes are and what you can and can't do. Any questions from board members?
Thank you, Mr.
I did
Duchon.
have something. Oh. I'll wait.
Go ahead, Ms. Judd.
Okay, so have we done this before? Because I think I remember Arizona Department of Fire, Forestry and Fire giving a brush truck or parking a brush truck with different departments throughout my district if they would accept this cooperation agreement. So is this something that we're already familiar with, or it's not brand new, is it? Kind of.
We've had these types of agreements for some time, and they've had different names and come in different forms. From mutual aid, there was a standardized mutual aid agreement the board has signed, and almost all the fire districts and fire departments in the city, or I'm sorry, in the county have signed them. For specific projects, as far as deploying a fire truck to a specific district, that would go between DFFM and the fire district.
Okay.
And then we also have many other specific IGAs that are akin to this, for example, with Fort Huachuca for how we interact with them, or with CCOM and how we interact with them. So our large partners, we do have very specific agreements like this, and this is another one of those.
And then I have a second question. In the situation where we have a community with a fire event, which you might know what I'm talking about, when it came time to have the Arizona burners out there, which was outside of a rural area, would this, I know they have their own fire department, but would this forestry and fire management agreement kind of cover an event like that, or at least be a consulting member of that decision?
This agreement doesn't provide fire coverage. The statutes and DFFM themselves already have their jurisdiction. So if there's a special event in unincorporated Cochise County that's not in a fire district, that DFFM would have the jurisdiction to respond to that fire.
Okay.
And
So
we
that's
can
good
include
news.
we can include DFFM in these special special permit applications in the future. Recently, we've taken them to our local emergency planning committee so that our local fire chiefs have an eye on what's going on. But we could also include DFFM as well. So thank you for that suggestion.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Mr. Crosby, did you have a comment?
No, I didn't. I was just going to thank Mr. DeShawn for his presentation, and I did have a chance to read that material, so thank you very much.
Okay. All right. Hearing no other comments or questions, I'm going to call for the vote. All those in favor say aye.
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 Chair votes aye, and it's unanimous and so ordered. Item number 13, we're transitioning to the health department and need a motion on a
Madam Chair.
agreement. Yes.
Madam Chair, I move that we approve intergovernmental agreement IGA CTR 062088, Proposition 201, Smoke-Free Arizona, between the Arizona Department of Health Services and Cochise Health and Social Services, and the amount of $64,001 annually, effective July 1st, 2022 through June 30th, 2027.
Madam Chair.
Did she say 64 or 60? It
was
should be 63,000.
63,001.
Okay. Did I hear a second?
I did second that.
Okay.
Thank you.
So we have a motion and a second. It says here that Natalie Johnson, she isn't here, so she must be on Teams.
Good morning, Madam Chair and Supervisors. I'm here today. This is an IGA that we've had with Smoke Free for many years, and it's just up for renewal. So we're just requesting, that we get it renewed and approval. The background is that we use this IGA to educate public places, places of employment and citizens within our jurisdiction on the Smoke Free Arizona Act that was put in, which is the Prop 201. The Environmental Health Division, we do respond to written, online, and telephone complaints or other means of communication directly received from the public. The IGA is renewed every 5 years.
Okay. Any questions, comments from the board?
No.
Ms. Judd?
I have a quick question. Does it address vaping? Is that new? Is that a health
They have not
concern?
added, right, and no, they have not. I don't believe they've added into legislation the wording for vaping yet, but it is in the process.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, if there are no further questions, I'm going to call for the vote. All those in favor say aye.
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 Chair votes aye, and it's unanimous and so ordered. The next one is a professional services agreement. Need a motion, please.
Madam Chair, I move we approve professional services agreement PSA 2315HEA-1 between Arbo Scientific LLC and Cochise Health and Social Services for vector surveillance effective April 2023 through October 2027 in the amount of $587,871.
I'll second that.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Ms. Thompson?
Yeah, thank you, Madam Chair and Supervisors. So Arbo Scientific, who had provided our surveillance, our mosquito surveillance this past year, we would like to enter into a 5-year contract with them. And so what they'll do is they'll provide us with comprehensive vector and arboviral surveillance for 5 years. And how they do this is they set mosquito collection traps bi-weekly for 14 weeks between the months of April and October. And they'll do this for the 2023, 2024, 2025, etc., ending in 2026. So this particular surveillance is critical to public health's ability to notify our communities of potential adverse health effects from mosquito bites. So trapping locations are throughout the county, and it's outlined in the contract with them. And we would be provided with the results weekly. When positive test results are received, then we would commence extensive public health communications targeted to the problem areas using social media, press releases, public service announcements, radio advertisements, etc.
Well, you might include for the public's information the things that we're checking for.
Okay, so off the top of my head, I'm going to butcher this list, because I always rely on Daniel to say that there's a chicken and something, but dengue, and I apologize, I wasn't prepared to list off everything. And Daniel, by any chance, are you online for this? West Nile, all of those mosquito-borne illnesses that are typical that we watch for. West Nile is the one that we have the most occurrences.
I was going to say the West Nile is the one that, that people kind of sit up and notice, because that's the one we most often get here in Cochise County.
But we also check for Zika, and it's like a total of 7 different mosquito-borne illnesses that we have our mosquitoes tested for.
Any questions or comments from the board members?
None.
No, thank you.
Are you also putting up billboards?
Billboards about mosquitoes?
We have in the past, and from the health department, and I didn't know if that was part of this or not.
We're getting ready to do a marketing campaign, and we're just waiting for the RFP to be posted on Bonfire. And that marketing campaign is for basically all of our services, with a focus on everything that we do in public health to help protect our communities.
Well, this is another preventive service. That's why I was wondering.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, if there's no further questions, then I'll call for the vote. All those in favor say aye.
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 Chair votes aye, and it's unanimous and so ordered. Okay, the next one is an amendment to an intergovernmental agreement. Do I have a motion, please?
Madam Chair, I move that we approve Amendment 1 to Intergovernmental Agreement IGA CTR 59344. Senate Bill 1847 funding between the Arizona Department of Health Services, ADHS, and Cochise Health and Social Services, and the amount of $91,500, effective May 10th, 2022 through May 9th, 2027.
Second.
I have a motion and a second. Ms. Thompson, would you explain the amendment?
Yes, so you actually approved the original contract in May of this year. But it is a fixed price one-time payment that's to be used to address overdose deaths in Cochise County. And that first contract had an erroneous date on it. It said that it ended June 30th of this year. And so all this amendment is doing is revising that date, or actually just takes the date off, because it is a 5-year contract from the date that it was signed. And so basically it's just doing this will then allow us to get the PO to spend the money.
Okay. Any questions, comments?
I asked Mr. Karwatska to come up with overdose statistics. Were you able to do that? And did you send them to me already? And I'm just remiss in looking at them yet?
Yes.
Okay.
So
Well,
I
then
did
I'm
pass
just
on or
remiss.
ask that information for Dr. Thompson. She provided that and I sent it out to
Okay. Got them off the top of your head by any chance?
No,
Okay.
no, sir.
That's fine.
We do have a fatality review board report, though, that's posted on our website for 2020. And we are wrapping up our overdose fatality review board for 2021, which will be posted soon once the report is completed.
Does it happen that you have looked at it and seen an increase or decrease from 20 to 21? You haven't, if you don't know, that's okay too.
Yeah, I'm gonna say.
Any other questions or comments? Hearing
No.
none, I'll call for the vote. All those in favor say aye.
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 Chair votes aye, and it's unanimous. And now we have an open-ended contract for 5 years. All right, indigent defense. I need a motion for an amendment on a Title 4E.
Madam Chair, I move we approve amendment to the Title 4E interagency agreement between Arizona Department of Child Safety, DCS, Arizona Supreme Court, Administrative Office of Courts, AOC, and Cochise County for expenditure reimbursement related to child welfare dependency cases.
I'll second that.
We have a motion and a second. Ms. Gilman.
Thank you, Chairman English, Supervisor Crosby, Supervisor Judd. This amendment is to an agreement that was previously approved on March 26, 2020. Title 4E program provides about a 20% reimbursement on costs that the county incurs related to dependency cases. We submit to the Arizona Office or Administrative Office of Courts our attorney expenses for staff and EREs, and we get a portion of that back to us quarterly. This amendment was made by DCS and Arizona Administrative Office of Courts because they needed to bring it into compliance with certain federal regulations and more consistent with federal regulations as other programs are operated in other states. So the main change has to do with reporting requirements that the county will make, different forms that we'll have to fill out, and different reporting on child dependency, number of children still in foster care. So all of that we are confident we can manage, so we ask for your approval.
Is this more money than we were getting before or less?
No change in the ratio.
So it's still 20%.
Probably, pretty
Okay.
close.
Any other questions from board members?
No, at this time.
Ms. Judd?
No, thank you.
Okay, hearing none, then I'll call for the vote. All those in favor say aye.
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 Chair votes aye, and it's unanimous and so ordered. We move on to County Administrator's Report, recent and pending county matters. We had snow this morning.
That's my first announcement. It did snow. And with that, I wanted to take a moment. We did have a delayed start in the county, but as I think most people realize, we do have county employees that start even earlier and don't comply with that delayed start, and that's facilities. So they were out there early in the morning trying to make our entryways to the buildings and our roads and parking lots safe so all our employees can start at a delayed start. So I just wanted to thank them for all that they do and coming in early even though with bad weather. Also, just to keep an update for the board, once again, I receive the daily reminders of how many juveniles we have in the juvenile detention center. That we have an agreement with Pinal, and we do not have any juveniles in custody today. And again, so there's been a long streak going. There was a little blip a while ago, but it is a good streak. So I just wanted to thank once again Judge Bannon, the County Attorney's Office, Juvenile Probation, the defense offices for all coming together to get a good positive result there. That concludes my report.
Great. Okay, summary of current events. Mr. Crosby.
Madam Chair, not too many weeks ago, we had Mr. Conlog with us from the Jail District Committee, and also part of that committee was Mr. Frank Antonori. I've produced this report from Frank Antonori having to do with jail funding and how he thinks it ought to be done, and I've provided that to you and Ms. Judd and a couple of our administrative staff. So that is for your perusal. At that time, I asked Mr. Conlog how much is half a cent sales tax at for 25 years at a 3% inflation rate, and I have calculated it to be $273 million. Is that Mr. Frisbee that we have in the audience today?
Yes.
So I'll get to
check his numbers.
Oh yeah, I intended that he do so because I want to know things like what percent loan can we have, and how much is the principal, and how much is the interest, and what is going to be the bond origination fee. And
sounds like you need a work session with him instead of the current events.
Should county employees and officials be allowed to purchase these bonds? And I don't think that they should. And so I'll be bringing up those issues. Number 2 on the list is a current event from yesterday, and it says, Attorney Kurt Olson told the Gateway Pundit, we have put forward evidence that unquestionably shows that this election was stolen with illegal votes and likely fraudulent votes. Hundreds of thousands of illegal ballots infected the election in Maricopa. It is pled on actual facts and proof that we are prepared to present at trial right away. Senator Sonny Borelli produced another lawsuit based
events for you, Mr. Crosby.
Based on signature verification. So if the issues are ignored, it will further degrade faith in elections, and it is far from beating a dead horse as much as some may wish to believe. Thank you, Madam Chair.
District 2 will pass District 3.
I just want to tell everybody Merry Christmas. Our district has been busy having events, and usually those happen the first part of the month, so everything's pretty much over in our area. But if you do happen to come to some of the communities in District 3, they have beautiful parks that are decorated, and I know that the shop owners would love that you came and visited and shopped there. We have some. It's just really amazing how busy our communities have become. I want to say full of themselves. They're just so excited to be providing services and shopping opportunities that they haven't had in the past. I also wanted to wish everyone a Merry Christmas. I think I did that, but each of the communities are just waiting for you to come. And then I did one more thing this week. I don't know if you all remembered Tanya Tucker, who grew up the first 9-10 years in Wilcox. She has a movie, and that was interesting to go with other members of Wilcox, with my community, and go to watch the movie. I'm going to recommend you watch it. It's rated R, so you have to use your discretion. But I thought it was neat that she mentioned Wilcox many, many, many times. There were lots of pictures of her family in Wilcox, and it's kind of neat. Not that we're real famous because of Tanya, but she saluted us with the when she was on Hee Haw and things like that. So she doesn't forget us. She may have a sordid life and a very famous life, but it's kind of neat to be remembered, and especially in a cinematography way. That was fun. It was neat to go there with a bunch of other people from my community and be excited about Wilcox. So I just wanted to share that.
Thank you. Our next meeting should have started at 11, so it'll be a little bit late. The clock says that it's 11:15 right now, so let's say that we will start at 11:25. That'll give Tim time to set it up in a different room, and that will be an executive conference room, and it's a work session on transportation projects. Having said that, meeting adjourned.